Now, I have to go ahead and apologize ahead of time because actually Joe's face is a little bit cut off in the video because we were trying to set up like a cool shot for him to see his rig in the background. So what ended up happening is when I exported that to show the interview side by side, it's actually has me centered and he is kind of half and half on the screen. But I know a lot of you just listen to the podcast version, so it shouldn't be too much of a distraction. But for those of you watching the video, I sincerely apologize for that. We'll make sure it doesn't happen in any future interviews. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Seeds of Music, the web's #1 resource for independent artists. I'm your host, Kyle Williams, and on today's episode, we have the record producer who developed Macy Gray on the show with us. His name is Joe Solo, and we're going to be chatting and riffing on different tips and his advice for not only having a successful career in this new music industry, but also songwriting and recording and producing and networking in the music industry. So it's going to be a really, really, really good interview for you to get in depth and really put into action the stuff that we're talking about. Plus, if you're one of those musicians who really is ready to take things to the next level with your music career, we've got some ways to connect with Joe to work with him in his music success workshops. So just stay tuned throughout this interview and you'll learn more. Let's jump right in. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Seeds of Music. On the show today, we have Joe Solo, the record producer who developed Macy Gray. Thanks for coming on, man.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
Awesome, man. So you're actually out in Los Angeles too. I'm in Long Beach, so this is kind of a more localized interview going on.
I'm in Marina Del Rey, so I'm actually even closer to you.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
We're practically neighbors.
Cool. I think I haven't stopped in Marina Del Rey, but I've passed. I think I went there to a movie theater to watch like a movie once, but I've just kind of been a passer, passing through there. But that's cool. So you're in the thick of it. So there's a lot of knowledge to jump in here, and I'm really excited. I know that one of the first things I really wanted to talk about, and I know this is in your newsletter series, the 9 Mistakes and Success Nuggets for Music. But I just wanted you to recount the story because I feel like it makes the point really, really well. It's a story about the artist who came to you with the songs that were amazing, but he didn't know the business basics of music.
Yeah.
Can you kind of tell us that?
I just wrote an article about that for Music Connection.
Okay.
Last month. I got something in my teeth there. Okay. Well, yeah. You gotta be able to speak the language of the music business. If you're going to conduct business with industry executives, they want to feel comfortable that you can walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah.
And also, I find a lot of people have this picture of how the business operates and how they should go about achieving their success, and they run with that without actually knowing how it works. And then they spend a lot of years and money and emotional energy sort of wasting their dream just to find out, I was climbing up the ladder to success, and it's been leaning on the wrong wall the whole time.
Yeah,
they find that when they get to the top of that ladder.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that like kills me more when I see like amazing talent going in the wrong direction.
And they're like, what's music publishing? Or so, like they say one question that sets you. You're just like, oh no. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he had the whole music thing down, but. He had great songs, great music, great recordings, great performances, everything. But he just was like, I don't want to learn about the business side. I'll let somebody else learn about that. I just want to do my music and let the millions roll in. And
jeez, yeah.
Kind of like, wake up, dude. That's not going to be your path to success.
Yeah.
It's not that you have to know everything, but
but just the basics.
You have to know the basics and a little extra too.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you get that opportunity, you're in that office with the music executive who can make or break your career. You want to be able to be received as a trusted colleague. and not looked at as, an ignorant, lame, dumb musician.
Or
No,
like
I
just or
mean,
like a risk because
well,
because you're putting
yeah,
time and effort into because you're a music industry professional, you're putting time and effort to help develop their career, but it's the same thing. You want to know that your time and hard work is put to good use because on the other end you're getting help. You're there's no resistance. From the other
yeah.
person.
And I'm speaking from personal experience. I was the dumb, ignorant musician. You're not
Really?
born with
Oh,
this knowledge.
yeah.
I made so many mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the very kinds of things that I want to warn other people not to make. They might as well learn from the mistakes I made way
Yeah.
back when, so they can make their own brand new mistakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give you an example. One of my earliest record label meetings. Was with a guy who was like really into like Euro pop. And it was this Euro pop group that I was part of and developing. And for some reason, when we met, all I talked about was how much I loved like the big guitar groups, Zeppelin and Hendrix and Van Halen and all this other stuff. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I left him with the impression that like, okay, I thought this guy wanted to do this kind of music, but clearly his heart is over here. And I was actually just trying to like be cool and show my diversity.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought diversity impressed.
Yeah.
But it came off as like I didn't even know what my own musical identity was.
Yeah.
And how's he going to know that and know how to market that and sell that if I don't even know it? So how I thought it would be was wrong.
Yeah.
I paid a price.
Yeah. So if you could go back then and change, take one decision or one mistake and change, what would it be?
Wow, no one's ever asked me that question, and
It's a heavy one.
yeah, let me give it a second of thought here.
We can always come back to it,
I'll tell you this, and I don't mean to sound like Mr. Ego, but I always wish I had a mentor like me back when I needed it.
Yeah. Yeah. Having someone to help.
Yeah, I would say probably the biggest mistake I ever made was not realizing how important paperwork was.
What kind of paperwork?
Paperwork that formalizes any business arrangement you have with your colleagues.
Yeah.
So when you're starting out, it's all love and everyone's buddy, and that's good.
Yeah.
But the second you put a pot of gold in front of everybody, a thing that I call selective memory takes over. And all of a sudden people remember who wrote that song that's going to be the single in a different way. Yet if it was formalized on a simple document, name, song title, percentage of the split, and the date, and sign it, that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of things that I teach at my workshops and talk about, on my blog and all that.
Yeah.
And it's simple stuff, but it's really, really important.
Yeah. And the musicians you teach at your workshop, like what do you feel is the thing that holds them back from doing that in the first place, from like going from like buddy, I feel awkward making it in this contract because that makes me feel, like what's usually the resistance there, like why people don't do that?
It's that awkward feeling you mentioned.
Yeah.
Or they're just not used to, a lot of creatives are not used to dealing in a business paradigm. Mm-hmm. And it's just not an area where they're comfortable,
Yeah.
And I know this guy. He can pick up women left and right, but for some reason in his business, he has a hard time making a collection call if somebody pays late or if someone hasn't paid on time. It's all nervous,
Yeah.
But
it's all perception then, because he has the ability.
People don't want to rock the boat or get into that serious conversation, but there's an easy way to avoid that. For example, if you're co-writing with somebody, just before you start writing the song, say, hey, let's agree to split everything even Steven, no matter who comes up with what. And that way we won't have to worry about, well, you wrote that verb and I wrote that noun and figure all this stuff out later and divide ownership by
That sounds like a nightmare.
Just keep it simple. If it's a great song and it comes in financially, everybody wins. What could be wrong with that?
Yeah.
So, there's things you can do to prevent these things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, because I feel like you can perceive business in some end as dealing with human nature, like when it comes to commerce, because once money gets involved, I think in general, this is just my personal opinion, I think in general, most artists or musicians are uncomfortable with money, even though they want to make more of it. The concept of dealing with it can make some uncomfortable. But
if you think you're uncomfortable with the thought of money, wait until $350,000 advance is plunked in your lap.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my God, I'm afraid.
I never learned how to.
Because I got to make it last. Yet there's all this gear I want to buy. It's like once you become a rookie in the major leagues, you got a whole new set of comfort issues to deal with because you're in a brand new space.
Yeah.
And so I like to prepare people, not only teach them how to get there, but prepare them for when they do, what to do so that they don't, crash and burn on their dream once they actually get it.
Yeah. Because I feel, would you say there's like a lot of pitfalls that can just like instantly destroy your chances? Or, can you recover from some of those mistakes?
Yeah, here's a classic one. All right, this is a tip that I actually just wrote about this in a book I'm putting together, and it's in the space of getting your music placed in film and TV, which is a very excellent way to break through nowadays. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people will send a bunch of MP3s to a music supervisor for consideration, and a lot of these music supervisors, most of them, hate MP3s for the simple fact that a lot of times they have these small corporate email accounts that have been given to them, and it bogs down their email account. They spend their whole day deleting your music and being upset at you for bogging down their email accounts. What they prefer is links. So their first impression of you is you don't know what you're doing because you don't even know that we don't like things delivered in this format.
Yeah.
Now, that's not for each and every music supervisor. Once you get to know these people on a deeper level, you start to learn the personal idiosyncrasies and how they prefer to have things delivered. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's a couple who do prefer MP3. I actually do prefer it because it makes it easy for me to transfer to my iPhone and listen in the car, which is where I do all my critical listening.
Yeah.
And that's just out of convenience because I'm either in the studio or working on, the music success workshop or spending time with my kids.
Yeah.
So the only time I have to really listen to other people's material is in the car.
Yeah.
And that means, and so a link doesn't work for me. An MP3 does. But for music supervisors, if you don't want to get blackballed and kill your career instantly, don't send MP3s, send links like to SoundCloud or, someplace like that.
That's incredible how just a small tweak of just one thing, man, makes all the difference. And that's why it's important.
Hundreds of these things.
Yeah, that's why it's important to get guidance on that. So I know another thing you deal with is songwriting itself. And particularly writing hit songs. And I've always wondered this. I wanted to field you this question because I feel like you're like a great person to answer it. Does a hit song always mean pop? But can niche musicians write hits that are within their community?
Well, what the definition of a hit song is really just something that's really popular. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that does follow that sort of verse, chorus, mm-hmm. bridge, chorus out format. And there are certain subject matters lyrically that tend to lend themselves more to hits. Mm-hmm. The more universal appeal is what I call it, that the lyric has that can relate to your song and feel it, be moved by it and touched by it.
Yeah.
The more they're going to crave it and want it, and that translates into deeper commercial viability and thus a hit.
Yeah.
But so I don't really write hits because you can't create a hit. That's
Yeah,
something
like
that happens organically. But what
yeah.
you can do is like try to keep your lyrics accessible
Mm-hmm.
with an interesting twist.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you're going to write about something that's so ultra personal that no one can relate to it, if you're going to write about the rubber ducky that your grandma gave you when you were 3 and how it means so much to you still as a 37-year-old, I don't know how many people are going to relate to that, unless they had that exact same
Oh
experience.
man, there
But
might
if
be
you want to
some.
talk about, if you want to talk about the love that your grandma gave you and how when you look at certain things, it reminds you of that and that feeling, well, that's cool because um, at last count, everyone had a grandma. See what I
Yeah,
mean? Two,
yeah,
actually.
yeah,
So you can get the message across in a universally appealing way.
yeah, yeah.
Did I answer your question, or did I
No,
just
no,
go
yeah.
so much?
I think
I
my
wasn't
take.
sure.
No, I think my takeaway is that they're just like facts, like about like hit songs, like definition of the word hit, meaning widely popular. And in order to do that, these are principles that you have to be aware of.
And I
But
would
you,
say there's another principle, and that is don't try to write a hit. Don't try and
don't set
write
out with
for
the
a certain
intention.
thing.
Yeah,
Write from the heart because that's what inspires people.
yeah,
And when they connect with your music, and lots of people connect with your music, that's what translates into a hit. So
hmm,
write from the heart.
yeah. Okay, right with your heart, keeping in mind certain things, certain structures that tend to make it more widely accessible. I think would be the takeaway there.
Yeah, it's a balance.
Yeah, yeah, the
It's
balance
a,
there. Yeah, because you could write from the heart and just shoot, and then come back, take another look at it, and then just refine it after that.
oh yeah, and refine and re-refine and
Refine.
re-refine and
Yeah,
re-refine.
yeah,
And I
that's
mean, I don't know if this is true for other people, but for me, a song tends to sort of write itself out very quickly or take forever, like years. Uh, you
oh
know,
man, either
so
15 minutes or you'll get a couple lines down, and then like a month later you'll come back.
or like the ones that write themselves out quickly often end up taking years to come out on a record.
hmm.
I've had songs that were written in like '94 that came out in 2007,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but they were written in 3 hours.
Hmm.
Go figure.
Yeah.
So you never know where your songs find a home,
Hmm.
and it's usually in somewhere you don't expect.
Yeah.
So it's just right from the heart. Make. I'm a record producer. I believe in high quality master broadcast quality recordings,
Hmm.
not just technically, but in terms of the performance and the mix and the tightness and the mastering
Hmm.
and the engineering and most importantly the vibe. You know, if a record is like technically perfect but it's not dripping with vibe, forget about it. It's not going to touch hearts.
What
You know,
what would you say, like how does a song drip with vibe? I mean, is it just like you just know it, like it's just a feeling you get when you listen to it, or can you like describe it?
that's a tough one to answer. For whatever reason, I was born with this vibometer in my gut, and like
Yeah. Well, it's
when
part of your profession. It's your, that's why you're professionals, because you have that ear. You have that discerning ear.
it's like when someone does an incredible take, it hits me, and I'm like, oh yes, that was it. And
Okay.
they're usually going to go like, no, 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 it's made lots of mistakes. Forget about it. And I'm like, no, it was amazing.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes to get some really great takes, like out of vocalists, I'll tell them I'm sound checking and have them do a couple run throughs of the song.
Yeah.
And because they
You
don't think it's
relax.
a
Yeah.
take that's
Yeah.
going to be embossed in the ears of the Earth's people for the
Yeah.
rest of eternity, they're
Yeah.
not feeling that pressure,
Yeah.
and really cool, loose, vibey stuff comes out.
Yeah.
And I end up using like maybe 40-50% of those warm-up takes
Yeah.
in the final comp.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I heard
you know,
this. Yeah.
there is some deceit and trickery involved
Yeah.
in getting these vibey takes too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, anyone who's listening to that now, and if they ever work with me, it's not going to work.
They're gonna
on
be
them.
looking out
So
for it.
don't worry,
Oh,
I got a couple other tricks up this sleeve
yeah,
here.
gotcha, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. So, how does a musician know when they have a hit? I mean, like, let's say that you've written a song, you've written it from the heart, and maybe you're like do a couple performances and kind of gauge the audience. But how do you really know, like, okay, this is a song that I want, that I think has a hit potential, and now I'm going to push it? How do you know that?
Well, what happens is you're playing these songs live or recordings of them for people, and you get feedback. And if you notice, if a song is really connecting with people, a lot of people will let you know. And if they say something like, "Oh my goodness, I would buy that," that's like a serious vote for the song.
Okay.
It's easy for people to say like, "Oh, yeah, I like it. I like it."
Yeah. See, how do you
But when they say, "I would buy that," they're saying, "I would part with my money for your song because that's how much I believe in it. That's I would go for it." And when people buy music, it's not about the money. It's that because the music that people listen to is like a reflection of who they are.
Yeah.
And what's in their soul. They're making an investment in their soul, or showing their soul. And then when they get like a record that's got 13 bad songs and one good one, it's a major disappointment. They're really ticked off, not because of the $13 they spent on the record, but because they made that emotional investment and were let down.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. That's an interesting way of putting it, because things have changed so much. You don't have to throw down for a record with a lot of filler, but just that the fact that buying music is an emotional decision. It's not like buying gasoline for your car. You need to buy gas because you need to friggin' drive your car. When people buy music, there's an emotion definitely involved in there. I'm curious, like, have you ever known an artist or looked into kind of validating hit songs by using things like social media?
I don't. People lie on social media all the time, and you know what? People lie to your face too. The better friend they are, or the closer the family member, except for the ones who like want to tell you the brutal truth. Here's a great method, not for finding out if your song is great, but finding out if it doesn't suck or not.
Which is a start.
Think about that. So what you do is you go to a party or a club or someplace where there's a bunch of people that you don't know, and you put on your song, but you don't tell anyone that it's your music. Now, if nobody reacts or says anything, you know it doesn't suck. But if it sucks within 20 or 30 seconds, someone's going to say, "What is this crap? Change this."
Yeah.
So, how to find out if your music doesn't suck.
Oh man, and you know what? That'd be like just a great exercise in just like overcoming personal fear, man. Because I bet like that could be nerve wracking. Yeah, it could be nerve. I mean, if you're the type of musician that'd be absolutely willing to like even go up to a friend, and even just like a friend or that you trust their like musical ear, you trust their taste, and saying, "Oh, what do you think of this artist?" But don't say it's you, and then play it for them. And then, whether they give you feedback or not, you don't say, "Oh, that was me, you jerk," but being able to get that honest feedback and not be, if it's very critical or if they're like, "Oh, this song's not very good," not being crushed by it, but using that as fuel to figure out, okay, how can I like make my music better? Is the problem the production? Is it like the composition, the arrangement?
Here's the question you would ask is not what do you think about it. You ask, would you buy this? And if they're like, "Oh, that's cool, but no, I wouldn't buy it." That tells you something. That's really, that purchasing decision really is emotional, and it tells you a lot.
Oh.
Yeah. Where can I get it? Well, then, of course, you're like, "Yeah, that was me."
That was me. I'll give it to you.
But the difference between your method and mine, and they're both valid, is mine doesn't solicit someone to render an opinion. Mm-hmm. It's just going to naturally... hit people how it hits people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got it.
And what I do a lot of times with mixes I'm working on is I'll send them out to a whole bunch of people to get feedback just for some objectivity. And if I send out 20 emails with a test mix on it. And this happened to me the other day. And like maybe like 17 of them came back. Oh, the vocals in that third verse were buried. I couldn't hear what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I need to pay attention to that. So even like as the producer, I got to put my own ego aside and everything and get that feedback and get that objectivity. In fact, especially me, because I've lived with the song for so many hours, I've lost a lot of objectivity.
Yeah.
So I really pay attention to people. And by the same token, if everyone's like, oh, that third verse just touches me, I know, don't touch it. And then what usually happens, though, is half the people say, oh, I love the third verse. Half the people say, I hate it. And then I'm even more confused than when I started. So that happens, too. But, you've got to get honest with yourself if something isn't working and rework it. Because the ego will go like, oh, they just don't get me.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't know my kind of music. They don't understand my music.
Yeah. Then
either it touches them or it doesn't. And if it's not touching them, it's up to you to make a change.
Yeah. I bet you hear
a
lot.
That's tough for people. I've got an artist who came to me. She did her record. Songwriting was brilliant. Production was great. Couple little things in the mix needed to be tweaked, but nothing horrendous. But the weak link was the vocals. And I had heard her sing, and I knew that she had more to offer than what the mic was capturing. And she's like, well, what do you think? And I go, I think you've got a B-, and if you want an A+, you need to re-record every vocal on the entire record. Now, that's a tough pill to swallow, but she rolled up her sleeves and she did it. Extra 6 months, and now her record is like an A+. It's a masterpiece, and it's something that she's so proud of now, instead of like just trying to get it over with.
Yeah.
So you got to take the time and really tweak this stuff out. Got to be honest with yourself. Put your ego aside. I mean, ego is like the number one reason why people aren't successful in anything.
Yeah.
So, and of course, as artists, we all have that ego. And maybe a little bit of that is good for like the stage bravado and when you're networking and all that. But when it comes down to the music, you got to be like so real with yourself.
Yeah.
It could be painful, but it's worth it if you work through it and come out with something that's just undeniably great.
Yeah. I think when it comes to results, like results are like inversely proportional to the size of the ego.
Wow.
Just in like whatever you do. But so once, like, let's say this musician has the song, they've got some validation, so now they're pretty sure like this is the song that they want to push as their hit, like into the the marketing phase. Let's also assume the musician is not resistant to marketing, like, oh, I don't want to do the business side, blah blah blah. They're totally willing to jump into it. So they have the song. Now what do they do?
Now what do they do?
What's the next step?
Well, boy, there's so many answers to that. And it really depends on.
Let's cover just like three then, if there's quite a few.
Let's go three.
The big three. The big three.
All right. Well, assuming that the song is great and that the recording of it is great, it's just ready to go. I'm a big fan of getting placement in film, TV, commercials, and video games.
Okay.
The reason why is there's no faster way for the largest amount of people to be exposed to your music. And because of license fees, it pays money right up front. And because of royalties, it pays money on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
So from both a financial perspective as well as a breaking through in the industry perspective, placement in film viable options to choose when you're trying to like market yourself and break through in your music career. And if I may do a quick plug for my workshop, which is coming up in April 24th.
It's is it physically?
It's going to be at a Malibu beach house mansion. Basically.
Sweet.
It's really
cool.
I haven't even opened up tickets to the public yet, but I've already sold a few. There's sort of like a first crack at it list that people have been getting on. But anyway, these are the kinds of things that I really dive into deep at the workshop and teach. So, and then we also actually have a panel of 7 publishers and music supervisors, top level supervisors, come in, and the people can talk to them and even have dinner with them afterwards and start networking and start a relationship. So it's really cool. And if you want to find out about this, just go to joesolo.com and sign up for my email list. And all the information will be sent to you. And then I also send out these free music success video nuggets and tips every week. It's just helpful information to help you in your career.
Yeah.
So that's all at joesolo.com.
Yeah.
And thanks for the plug.
Yeah. No worries, man. Yeah, that's actually, when I signed up to the list, that's where I got the story in one of the first emails that came out about the artist that came to you with the great music and the great production, and just the music end was great, but just refused to deal with the business end, and kind of, hasn't managed to break through since then, because the networks, in the music industry locally, they talk with each other. The music producers talk with each other. The publishers talk with each other. Hey, I saw this one guy, but he was, didn't work out.
You bring up a really good point. It is this incestuous, tiny little boys and girls club. Yeah. Everyone knows everyone. Mm-hmm. All the supervisors are like tight friends. Mm-hmm. All the publishers hang out together. All the A&R people hang out together, and they do all talk amongst themselves. Mm-hmm. And so it's like a lot of people come out to LA and they start acting all Hollywood and everything like that. And that works against you. You just got to be real and authentic. Yeah. Have your music be real and authentic. And when you meet these people, be real and authentic and respectful too. Yeah. Because you want to build the key term, trusted relationships with people. Yeah. Because they worked hard to get where they are. Yeah. And they're sort of betting the farm with each artist they work with. Yeah. And they're putting their reputations on the line. If there's a music supervisor who brings some music into Steven Spielberg for his next movie, and Steven falls in love with the song for his scene, finally, it's the music that made the scene work. Mm-hmm. And then the music super finds out from the songwriter, I actually never told you this, but I wrote that with 6 other people, and they're not going to sign off on the song. And so I guess you can't use it. Now the supervisor has to go back to Steven Spielberg and say, I got some bad news for you. And his reputation as a trusted executive is ruined. So trust is so important all the way down the line.
Yeah, man, that's a great story. You should put that in the email series too. That's
I already have.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So again, guys, if you haven't, go to joesolo.com. You can sign up to his email list and get those tips for free, and also get updates on the upcoming event that he's Music Success Workshop he's hosting. I wanted to wrap up with this last question here. Sure. It's supposed to be kind of a fun question. So what was there a particular song that you heard and you're like, I'm going to be involved in the music business? Because you just heard the song and you're like, you knew it.
Not involved in the music business, but I do remember the song that made me want to play electric guitar. See, what happened was, like in 4th grade, I went to my dad and I was like, I want to play guitar. Mm-hmm. And he went out and bought this really expensive classical guitar and prepaid for a year of classical lessons with like the top instructor in Cleveland, which is, where I was from. Well, really a city called Shaker Heights outside of Cleveland. But and in my mind, I was like, I meant rock guitar. But I felt bad. My dad spent all this money and he was all excited that I wanted to learn some music. He was excited because his mom and dad and their like 18 brothers and sisters and brothers and sisters-in-law were all traveling vaudeville performers. So my dad was like, I hope Joe carries on the family tradition. Oh, wow. So he was all excited. So I didn't say anything for like a year. But after a year of taking, classical lessons, I hated it. And I quit. And of course, now I realize they were so good for me. They helped me in so many ways. Yeah. But, I learned all my music theory by the time I was done with elementary school. And that's come back to help me in many, many wonderful ways. So it's like seventh grade now, and I'm listening to Dire Straits' Sultans of Swing. And it's not the most rocking song in the world, but there's these really cool, tasty guitar licks all the way through it. Big fan of the band, but I was hearing that song, and then like some AC/DC Back in Black came on.
Yeah.
And I was lying in my bed, and all of a sudden I was just like, oh, I want to rock. And I went to my dad and said, Dad, I want to take lessons again, but rock. And we actually went out and bought this Gibson SG.
Because
and it's still my main guitar right here. You can see it's all beat up and ugly, but it just sounds great, and it feels, so wonderful in my hands. And he went out and bought a Fender Twin reverb amp. And finally, I was set up with the appropriate equipment. I got a rock instructor, and went from there. And the funny thing is he went out and he's like, I spent like $1,000 on a guitar and $500 on an amp.
Wow.
And then you, Joe, you went out and spent $35 on a distortion box and screwed up the whole sound. And
yeah, is that weak link in the chain?
Yeah, but had to get the fuzz box.
It's all
the Big Muff Pie by Electro Harmonics. I remember.
Oh man!
But anyway, so that's like that was like the moment that I was like, I want to be in music. Mm-hmm. And then when I started playing out in rock bands around high school, I liked the attention from the ladies and being popular from all that. Yeah. And I was like, this is kind of cool. I think I want to have a career as a professional musician.
Yeah.
It actually turned into one, and I never actually got any girls through my music ever. But I did get the career, so it worked out okay.
Okay, yeah. You got what was really important in the long run was the actual career itself. So, all right, Joe, man, I just want to say thanks again for coming on.
My pleasure.
Anyone who's watching this, man, definitely sign up to his email list at joesolo.com. Get his video nuggets, read into that, take action as well, because you can read all you want and you can listen all you want, you can listen to this podcast, listen to other podcasts, but in the end it's really the musicians that are actually going to take action, that are really going to see any kind of change.
Heed those situation. Words. That is really great. Really great advice, Kyle.
Awesome. All right, Joe, well, thanks again.
Thanks for having me on.